We're just 3 days away from Super Bowl 58, and football fans are excited to see who is going to take home the Lombardi Trophy, whether it will be the 49ers or the Chiefs at the end of the night. I spoke with Charles Davis. He is the analyst, of course, for the NFL and a member of the CBS Sports Super Bowl programming team about what fans should expect on Super Bowl Sunday. Patrick Mahomes, we know, already making history as the first QB to start 4 Super Bowls before 30. Around here, we're used to Tom Brady making all the records. What will this mean, do you think, for his legacy if Kansas City wins?
Well, I think his legacy is already complete. Well, not complete, but cemented, because winning 2 Super Bowls as a starting quarterback puts you in an elevation that very few people have, because we have had quarterbacks win 1. And some of them have been surprises. They've been backups who've been thrust into the role and won. But somehow when you win 2, it changes things. It changes the look, the view, everything else. But he's all about team. He's all about trophies. It was all about championships. So 2's not enough for him, not necessarily for his name, but for his team. But obviously it goes on his record as well. So if he somehow manages to win on Sunday and gets to 3, now we're talking about the chase of Joe Montana, who won 4. And if somehow he finds a way to win his 4th, then in earnest, the discussion starts in chasing down the man at the top, and that's Tom Brady. Right now, all this conversation's premature. We know that.
Yeah.
But has that ever stopped us in the sports world?
No. That's the fun of it. As for the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan's one of the best coaching minds in the game. But Mahomes and Travis Kelce certainly seem to have this incredible momentum, the surging KC defense on their side. Do you think he has a game plan that can stand up against that and stop them?
Oh, he certainly does, and he has a team that can do it. Now, the issue for the 49ers has been much more how they've played as opposed to game plans. Didn't play particularly well against Green Bay, found a way to survive and advance. Didn't play particularly well, especially in the game against Detroit. And for the life of me, I can't understand Detroit in the second half not running the football more. That's a whole other story. But they found a way to survive and advance. Now they've had that 2-week break. They're going to try and get back to being those 49ers we saw earlier, which was so impressive. Plenty of people on the roster, plenty of stars, plenty of really good football players, offense, defense. They have the opportunity to do this. They have the type of team that can beat Kansas City. And one thing to keep in mind, when we think about Kansas City, we always think about them scoring 30 or more points per game. They haven't done that all season. That's not been who they have been on offense. So even as good as Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, all that crew have been, remember, they won the AFC Championship game with only 17 points. That may be an issue when you're playing San Francisco, who's pretty high-powered. Even though Kansas City's defense is great and has been this year, San Francisco finds a way to put up points. This will be interesting.
And we certainly know here from Patriots fans, once you get to the Super Bowl, anything can happen, right? And people can look completely different. All right, here's the loaded question, because we know that you always want home field advantage. You want that feeling that you have a stronger fan base in the stands at the Super Bowl. Any indication who will have that feeling? I mean, we know a lot of the more Swifties are going to be watching from home, no doubt about that, in terms of being there at the game. Who do you think has the stronger presence in the stands on Sunday?
I don't know that there's going to be an advantage, Paul. I've been here since Sunday and been around the city a little bit, and I see plenty of Chiefs representation. I've seen plenty of 49ers representation. But as I've told others, the Super Bowl is a celebration of the league as well. So when you go around whatever Super Bowl city, you will see people wearing the gear of their team.
Yeah.
So all the teams are represented. And it's a little more of a corporate crowd with a Super Bowl. We know that. Doesn't mean that the fans don't get their pockets in there. But I don't know that there's going to be an advantage one way or the other in this one. Kansas City would love for you to believe that everyone's for the 49ers, and the 49ers would love for you to believe everyone's for Kansas City, because both of them are trying to fight for that underdog mentality and advantage. Kansas City used it quite well, going on the road twice to get here. In San Francisco, they feel like they're overlooked because all the talk is about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and the Swifties.
Well, that's right.
For the underdog role.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Brock Purdy's been underestimated all season. And do you think a win will finally silence the doubters?
I don't think anything silences the people who look at a guy who was picked number 262 overall. It's hard to do because, especially if you are a so-called talent evaluator, you don't like to look stupid when you say a guy, well, I think he's a seventh rounder, he can't play, and then he turns out to be one of the best in the league. That becomes an issue for people. So I don't think so. But if he does win a Super Bowl and plays well, now you got to add that little caveat, Paula. He needs to be that guy who goes 24 for 30 for 330, 3 touchdowns, blah, blah, blah. That'll do a lot.
Yeah.
If he's 15 for 20, for 25, 155 yards, and they run the football real well, he still won't get the credit he deserves. I think, to me, he cemented it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Didn't play particularly well in the beginning of either game, but down the stretch, he did what great quarterbacks do. Rallied his team to victory and played well in the big moments, in the big spots. I think he's the goods. I think he's a legit item.
Yeah, certainly took Tom Brady a couple of rings before he got the credit he deserved, Patriots fans thought, compared to Peyton Manning. But that's a discussion for another day, Charles.
I'm going to let Boston have that discussion.
And I don't know if you'd like to do this, but do you have a pick to win the game?
Well, I'm calling the game on the world feed with Iron Eagle, so we tend to not do that part. I will say this, looking at how the game is unfolding and what's going on, San Francisco has all the talent that they need to win this football game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts in my mind. But Kansas City, I think, is playing a little bit better going into it. But to me right now, it suggests low-scoring game. And in that type of a game, what quarterback do you like better? That'll be the interesting part in this one. That's kind of how people seem to be leaning towards it. But can San Francisco win it? I'm kind of surprised we're having that part of the discussion.
Sure.
But that just tells you about where we've been lately. If this discussion had taken place a month and a half ago, San Francisco would be a decided favorite in this game.
Interesting. Remember, for years, it always seemed as though the Super Bowl was a really lopsided game. They've been very exciting the last few years. So no question, it's going to be an exciting one this year as well. Charles, thanks so much for taking the time to speak to me. I appreciate it.
Certainly, Paula. You take care of yourself.